to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trip Foreman, and this is the LibTech Lost Round Nose Fish Redux. This board is it's a classic. The round nose fish in the several different variations that it's been available has been around for over 20 years now, and it's amazing to see this board just keep ticking, still be relevant, and a lot of people out there ripping on it. Having it available. Excuse me, having it available in, let me start that one again. Having it available in LibTech's MVC construction means that you can get a high performance design, but also have it be durable and have it be accident resistant. Nothing's accident proof, but this is probably one of our most accident resistant boards in the loft. So talking about the shape first, the round nose fish, the round nose fish Quint, the round nose fish Redux. So this board is a little bit of all of the previous round nose fishes all wrapped up into one, because if you remember, the round nose fish OG got pulled into this super narrow swallowtail and was really meant to be only ridden as either a twin or a twin plus trailer. The round nose fish Quint had a much wider tail, and you could ride it, basically any kind of fin setup you want, quad, thruster, or 2+1, or just straight twin. This board is a combo of them both, so it's got a little bit narrower tail, and it also has a wing compared to the Quint. A little bit wider tail than the standard classic, but this board can be ridden with a bunch of different fin configurations. It's narrow enough you can ride it as a standard twin. You can ride it as a twin plus a little finger trailer in the back. For that, you would want to use the standard, you'd want to use the FCS MR TFX fins that are available in either standard FCS or FCS2. You could also ride it as obviously a quad, which is what this is. This is with the Mayhem quads. Or you could ride it as a standard thruster as well. So a bunch of different fin setups. One thing that LibTech has changed, as this year they've strived to have this box be FCS2 compatible, so that you're not, if you didn't have a set of OG FCS fins, just the standard 2-tab ones, that you didn't have to go out and buy an older set of fins in order to put on your newer board. So if you have FCS2 fins, they should work in these boxes. Always best on something like that to double check that the fins do fit before you go on a surf trip far away from a surf shop. But now these boxes do fit the FCS standard and then also FCS2 fin boxes. This board, I think, is a great all-around board and a good daily driver in a fish style board. And we get the question a lot, like on our website and also in the Real Board Loft, about which board should I get? Should I get the puddle fish or should I get the round nose fish Redux? Puddle fish is a great small wave board or a great slopey wave board. Great, it's obviously a great groveler as well. When we look at this board and when we surf this board is more of a one board kind of quiver style board, like where you're going to ride it in everything. It's got a little bit more upper end than the puddle fish, a little bit less lower end, and also I think this board rides better lower volume. It rides better basically riding it as small as you can surf it versus riding it really big and adding a lot of volume to it, trying to make it easier. It actually, by adding volume to it, it actually makes it a little bit more difficult to surf rather than easier to surf. And when I say that, this is a 6.2, and then I've also surfed the 6.0. I ended up liking the 6.0 a lot better, even though this board would seem easier to surf and easier to catch waves on. It was actually a little bit harder to catch waves on. Around that same time, and it's not saying that this is not as good as the 6.0, it's just for my size and my surfing, this board surfs better in what I would normally surf like a performance shortboard volume at. And in talking to some of the other people that surf this board, whether they work here at the shop or even going to the OG round nose fish surfer of all time, Corey Lopez, I was surfing with Corey one time and I was like, hey, how big do you ride your round nose fish? Do you ride it at a groveler size or do you ride it at a shortboard size? And he actually rides it at the same volume as his standard shortboard, which is why they end up being so small for those guys. So helpful bit of information. When I went to that 6.0, I liked it quite a bit better, and it actually caught waves easier. and was obviously easier to turn and throw around on the wave and generate speed. But typically more volume, you're thinking catch the wave easier, where on this board, it's a lot of times it's the reverse. And this board will still, the 6.2 would still work really well for somebody my size or bigger that's used to riding higher volume boards. It's just that you don't want to take this board and throw volume at it and thinking it's going to be a gravel board, because it's not, or thinking it's going to make it easier, which a lot of times it won't. So again, on this board, you want to keep it closer to your performance shortboard volume. The tail's pretty wide on this board, so this is one of the wider loss pads. And then you can see it's even opened up just a little bit. And then looking at the tail, then this is one of the guys that we work with at the shop, Jake Sachs, who's built a ton of boards himself. He noticed this right away. As you look at the tail of the board and how this MBC construction goes together, and where the edges are pretty rounded off up here, you get to the tail and there's a noticeable resin bead that goes around the entire board, or just like an extra 1/8 of an inch really of built up resin around here, so that they have the ability to get a nice square, super sharp, crisp edge out the back of the board. And so that the sharper that you can get the back edge right here, the faster the board's going to go, because there's going to be zero water wrapping around the rail right there. So by having that extra bead, extra layer of fiberglass and resin going all around here, it gives them the ability to get that shape exact and get it super, super crisp going out the back of the board. Flipping it over to the deck, this is another new element in this year's board as opposed to previous year's Libtex, is that there's now a carbon strip on the deck. That does two things. It reinforces the board structurally, and it also gives the board a faster response. So when you're loading it and unloading it, it's going to spring back quicker in the turns. And so that's on the deck. You can see it's not a complete stringer. It doesn't go all the way through to the bottom. So it's just on the deck. So talking about durability, and this is something that a lot of people get confused about, because there's different types of durability. There's breaking your board in half durability. There is how long does your board feel new durability before it just goes dead flat like a wet noodle. And then there's also accident durability. And so the thing that's good about the Libtex is that they're really durable for what would normally ding your board. And so that can be swinging the board around and hitting your garage door. It could be thinking that you have it on your roof racks and you don't, and you hit the end of your roof racks. It could be talking to your friend in the lineup and your friend just has zero spatial awareness and he keeps bumping into you. All of those different things, or just straight up dropping the board in the parking lot. All of those things, this board has a much more durability than like a standard PU poly board. To the point that, like, the last time that I took one of these boards to El Salvador, like in and out of the boat, in and out of the racks, like I never put it in a board bag, and I watched multiple people like hit walls with it, hit the boat with it, the boat like kind of almost run over the board, like people stacking boards on top of it, no board bag, nothing, and I came back without a ding in the board. So really, really durable with regards to dinging, and also with regards to kind of covering up some of those accidents that you wish didn't happen. So that's the best way to describe it. As far as the ride of this board, because it doesn't have polyester resin, I'm actually not sure what type of resin it has. It has some sort of like biochemically engineered, plant grown, maybe in Canada, maybe in the Northwest, kind of resin that nobody else has. But it doesn't ride. Everybody's always like, oh, it's an epoxy board. Is it gonna ride like a Surf Tech from the 80s? Is it gonna be like kind of bouncy and chattery? This board actually has much more of a polyester feel to it, in that it has a nice on the water, in the water, damp feel, and not damp in a negative way, but damp in a positive way, that it dampens the vibration that's trying to come through the board. And I found it actually ride a whole lot more like a poly board than like a sandwich epoxy board, which are the boards that created those negative sensations that people are tentative that they're going to have in a new style epoxy board, which even a lot of the new style epoxy boards don't have them. But this one definitely doesn't have it, and it feels actually a whole lot more like a poly, but at the same time it's at the other end of the spectrum as far as durability. The deck holds together really well. If you're really animal on the deck and like caving your decks in, these things hold up really well on the deck. Again, we talked about like the accidents and the dings and stuff. as far as holding up. And then, you know, other than that, just a great all-around board. And again, I wouldn't, it does grovel, but I wouldn't call it specifically a groveler, nor would I size it as a groveler. I would just size it like your performance shortboard. So this is the Lost Round Nose Fish Redux by LibTech. And it's available in a bunch of different sizes. If you have any questions, give us a call at the shop, 252-987-6000, or look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.